The partition of India and Pakistan was a significant event in history. Two nations were created out of it, but there was also a painful part. It came at a huge cost. The whole partition, this event, was preceded and succeeded by a lot of violence. Over 1 million people lost their lives, millions of others who lost their homes. It was the time when there was a lot of communal violence. Hindus and Sikhs of India, they were on the one side, and Muslims of Pakistan, they were on the other. So since Pakistan was being created for Muslims, many Muslims from Indian side, they were moving towards Pakistan, and those Hindus and Sikhs who were living in Pakistan, they were coming back to India. And both were leaving their homes behind. So in this really dark setting, you find a lot of literature. As you can understand, most of it is painful and dark. But there is so much to talk about it that you cannot just cover it in one or two or a matter of few books. So I keep coming across the various kind of literature that we have on this subject. And one of the books that I recently came across, it was written in Punjabi and contained the stories of the partition. It was written by Mohinder Singh Sarna and translated into English by his own son. And when you read the translator's notes, you find that there are a lot of emotions involved with it. In fact, anytime you talk to these people, especially in Punjab and Bengal region, who suffered during partition, it has left a deep emotional wound in their psyche. So you find a lot of outbursts of emotions, and understandably so. So it is in this context that I'm going to narrate today's short story. It is from this collection of short stories which is translated into English and is called Savage Harvest, Stories of Partition. And I'm going to narrate the last one in the collection, which is called A Defender of Humanity. And as you would understand, it's a really sad story, but it comes with some hope. So without any delay, let me start the story. Today, I thought of you again. I always remember you this way, all of a sudden, and I remember you often, always when the sun is shining brightly on my life, chasing away the shadows. When the valley of my life is wreathed in smiles, when sunflowers are blooming, when my son comes back victorious from some debate competition, when my daughter makes a new design of Japanese ikebana, when my wife puts a plate of my favorite peas pulao in front of me, wipes her hands on the end of her sari and smiles at me. I remember you all of a sudden with all my heart. That was how it happened today as well. My daughter was telling jokes and we were doubling up with laughter. She's got an endless store of jokes, doctor jokes, lawyer jokes, husband-wife jokes, priest jokes, truck driver jokes. Today she was cracking truck driver jokes when, without warning, my eyes filled up with tears and I left the lawn and withdrew to my room. I could hear my daughter's voice coming after me. I bet that Papa has gone to write a story. I hadn't gotten up from the lawn to write a story, but my daughter's words woke your story inside me. Why not write your story today? The story that has been stoking your memory in my mind for these last 36 years. That cloudy morning of September 1947 is fresh in my mind. The morning when all of us climbed into your lorry. You were in the driver's seat, intently looking into the mirror to straighten the Pathan turban that you had tied over the little black cap on your head. Outside the lorry, it was all mist and cloud. Inside, there was utter terror. The passengers sat, huddled into themselves, their hearts in their mouths. Even in this atmosphere of fear, I was transfixed by your fine features, your handsome face. The mingling of Pathani, Pothohari, Greek and Afghani beauty that had been taking place for centuries in northwestern India seemed to have reached its apogee in your face. Suddenly, someone exclaimed, "Look, the early lorry has returned." We all turned to look. The lorry that had left at 6 in the morning from Rawalpindi for Srinagar had indeed returned. Its passengers were frozen with fear, unable to speak. But its Muslim driver was relating, with extravagant gestures, how the tribals had reached the road that ran from Rawalpindi to Srinagar, how they had fired upon the lorry near Ghoda Gali and tried to puncture its tires, how he had not lost his nerve but had brought the passengers back to safety by driving the lorry in reverse gear for nearly 6 furlongs. There was no joy on the faces of the passengers who had been rescued. They knew that the death they had escaped now awaited them here. All the routes for getting out of Rawalpindi to India had been cut off. Trainloads of passengers were being massacred even before they got to Jhelum or Wazirabad. In the last 10 days, not a single train had managed to pass Lahore and reach Amritsar safely. And now there were no trains running at all. There had been some hope of escaping by road towards Srinagar. Now this hope, too, had been strangled by the tribal raiders. The stabbing incidents in Rawalpindi itself were on the rise, and one by one they would all be killed. They hadn't a shred of hope left. At that moment, you turned back and looked at your passengers, saw their distress, read the intense hopelessness in their eyes, and took measure of the terror that gripped their souls. I saw a dark glint appear in your fearless eyes. Thumping your chest, you said, "I will take you to Srinagar, even if I have to stake my life on it. Are you ready to go?" Such courage coming from a Muslim driver couldn't but touch the hearts of the Hindu and Sikh passengers. They were ready to go. In any case, they had no other choice. The driver of the first lorry pleaded, "Don't go, Hussein. Think of yourself. You have an old mother and unwed sister." But you paid him no heed and put your foot down on the accelerator. Nurpur, Komari, Natyagali, Ghodagali passed without any incident. Kohalla was 25 miles away from Ghodagali. At Kohalla, there was a bridge across the Jhelum River. On this side of the bridge, the new country of Pakistan ended, and on the other side, the territory of Kashmir state began. It was downhill all the way from Ghodagali to Kohalla, and the lorry had picked up speed. But the passengers were still afraid. Would they ever cross that bridge to breathe free in the India of Gandhi and Nehru? Or would their bodies be picked up to the bone by vultures on these rough hilly slopes under a merciless sky? Holding their breath, they watched each passing milestone. Now Kohalla was 17 miles away. Then suddenly we heard gunfire and saw blood spurting from your left arm. Behind me sat Pritam Singh Sodhi, a compounder who used to volunteer his services at the Rawalpindi Singh Sabha's charitable hospital. He jumped to his feet. Your wound wasn't deep. The bullet had gouged a gash through your muscle and gone out of the lorry's window. Pritam Singh Sodhi took out the first aid kit from his suitcase and bandaged you. Even as he was ministering to you, you didn't let the lorry's speed slacken a bit. You had lost a lot of blood, but your face was still flushed with determination, and the black glint in your fearless eyes had not dimmed a whit. We heard the sound of gunshots again when we were only 12 miles from Kohala. We looked in all directions. 20 yards behind us stood 4 young tribal men, their rifles aimed at the lorry's tires. "Is there a driver among you?" you asked, without taking your eyes off the road. "If so, then he should come up here fast." Jodh Singh spoke up. "I've been driving buses from the Nanda bus service from Pindi to Lahore, but I don't have any experience on hilly roads." "Hold the steering wheel," you said. "It's downhill all the way to Kohala. Keep your foot on the brake, and for the sake of your guru, don't stop the lorry this side of Kohala." And you stepped up to Sardar Shamsher Singh and requested, "Sardarji, please give me your sword." Uncomprehending, but without a minute's hesitation, Sardar Shamsher Singh handed you his 3-foot-long sword. He unsheathed it and jumped off his seat, while you jumped off the moving lorry, saying, "God be with you." We saw you roll into the bushes and then swerve off into a bunch of trees. In your hand was the gleaming sword that Guru Gobind Singh had put into the hands of the Khalsa to protect the weak. It looked beautiful in your hand because it was the sword of humanity, and you were the defender of humanity. 3 more bullets were fired, but they didn't touch the tires. Then the bullets stopped. We could see that your gleaming sword had caused pandemonium among those young tribals. I don't know what happened to you. You were 1 against 4. And who knows how many more were hiding in the trees. And they had rifles. When you jumped off out of the moving lorry, I sent up a prayer. May Allah protect you, Hussein. May He grant you the remaining lifespan of cowards like me. I do not know if He heard my prayer or whether they finished you off. What happened to your mother? What became of your sister? That too I do not know. But I remember you often, and always in the happy moments of my life. This life and its joys are your gift to me. That is why when your memory knocks at my door, 100 prayers burst forth from my heart. I hope to God that you're still alive. But if you're not, I hope that Allah has given you a place in heaven. Wherever you may be, through this story today, I send you my salutation, the salutation of my wife, son, daughter, and all of humanity.